the way you get what you want in life is by helping other people get what they want in life.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the One Percenter Podcast. I'm excited for today. We both are. We have an awesome guest. This is going to be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
We have Dr. Cole on the show. He was a professional hacker for the CIA. He does cybersecurity for the Gates family, Bill Gates, yes. He was in a commission with President Obama. He's sold some companies for $2.3 billion to Intel, one of the biggest companies in the world. Guys, this is going to be fun. This is going to be awesome. So thank you, Dr. Cole, for being on the show. We really appreciate you coming on.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me.
I just want you to hack my wife's Instagram account.
Hey, we can talk offline when it's not being recorded.
Yes.
Oh man, so why don't you tell us some of your experiences, working for the CIA, working for the Gates family, working in a commission for President Obama. You've had an incredible career, and it's still going. So I'm really curious and really excited to get into this.
Yeah, to me, I mean, one of the drivers I've always had in my life is you're always open to new opportunities, pursue new things. And I remember back in the 80s when I was interviewing at the CIA, and I were interviewing at the networking group and a programming group, an operating system group. And everyone I talked to said, oh, go with networking. It's the safer option. It's the safer way. You'll always have a job. And I said, what about cybersecurity? And they said, oh, that's riskier. That might not pay off. Who knows what the future holds? And I'm all about taking risks. So I didn't listen to the advice, jumped into cybersecurity, professional hacker, and that basically changed my entire course. So my big thing is don't be afraid to take chances and fail, because if you keep trying, the successes stack up pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were in the CIA for, you said, 10 years, right?
Yeah, 10 years. For 2 years, I did some programming, and then 8 of the years, I actually went and was a professional hacker trying to break in and compromise systems. And that one's real interesting because I was in a big meeting with 3,000 people, and they were talking about the internet and how it was coming out and the new challenges. Remember, this was early 90s before the web. And I raised my hand to ask a question. And you're not supposed to ask questions. So my boss is in the front and she's like, put your hand down, and I'm waving to her, and I kept my hand up and I asked a simple question. How do we know these systems are secure? How do we know they're safe? And they all look around and go, Eric, thank you for volunteering to ask that question. And that question changed my life, because it turns out there is no way to prove a system is secure. There's no way to verify or validate a system. The only way to check the security is by hacking, breaking in, or looking for exposures. And that one question is what allowed me to be a hacker for 8 years for the CIA, which built the foundation for the rest of my career.
Man, so talk to us about some of those experiences.
So you were probably the first hacker in history then. You know what I mean? Because you were just like, you were like, well, these systems are not secure, right? I could probably get into them, and they're like, you probably created the hacker category at that time.
I mean, there were a couple little things, like you had the Morris worm in the 80s and some basic stuff, but you're right, that was really that pivotal turning point when everyone was putting data online, moving things, and hacking, as we know it as modern day hacking, has really started to evolve, because everyone just assumed, like they do today, that they're not a target, that the systems are safe and everything's fine, when in reality, any system that has functionality is going to have vulnerabilities and exposures.
So can you talk about some of this stuff? I don't know if there's any confidentiality with the CIA or anything.
You don't want to mess with the CIA, man.
I absolutely can. Now, after this, a van might pull up outside and kidnap you guys, but if you're okay with that, Riz.
Oh, man, well, hey,
what are those creeper vans?
Yeah, it's a gated community, so they can't get in. But I'm curious, do you have any stories, anything? I would love to know.
To me, I always joke, because the CIA has a lot of mystery, and people think it's so cool that I work there. But I'll tell you, 90% of what I did was boring and not interesting at all. But the one thing I will tell you is it was a lot easier and simpler to get into systems that most people realize. I think we were joking before the show that I'm not sure if my record's been broken or not, but back at the time in the 90s, I hold one of the records for breaking into a nuclear power plant in 37 minutes, being able to exploit and get in. One of my other favorite examples just to show you that information, once you put it on a computer, exists forever. Is I worked on a case where we went in to seize a computer and the person took out a 9mm and unloaded into the hard drive. So you have this hard drive that stores the data that has 9 bullets in it. We were able to take the platters out, put a special magnetic flux on it, and we were able to recover 93% of the documents that were on that computer. So you can smash computers, you can burn them, but what you got to remember is once you hit send, saved, or post, that information will exist forever and can be recovered.
So this might sound like a dumb question, but where does it go? like where, you know, I've always wondered that.
It's in the clouds. It's in the clouds.
Yeah.
You look upside, exactly. Today, it actually goes into the cloud, because if you look at any application, social media, even if you go in, my kids love Snap, and they're like, oh, Dad, the data disappears in whatever it is, 7 or 8 seconds, and this, and I'm like, no. The data disappears off of your local app, but there's still a copy on your phone. There's still a copy in memory, and there's still a copy on all the servers out there on the internet that can be recovered. And it's the same thing. I've worked on a lot of investigations where people went in and they thought they wiped their iPhone, they thought they destroyed it. And just with their phone, not going to the cloud or anywhere else, I was able to recover text messages from 7 months ago, email messages, and pictures from 2 years ago. So what I always tell people is, if you don't want somebody to find it, don't take naked pictures of yourself, right? Just resist that temptation, because once you take that picture, right, somebody will be able to find it because it's stored in so many locations.
My gosh. So I'm curious, when you hack into a nuclear reactor facility, what does that give you the power to do?
If you're evil, it could give you the power to go in and either shut it down, misconfigure it, or go in and put false information or false data. If you're a competitor, you could use it to go in and either cause it to operate inefficiently, so now you have to cause more money to generate the power, or you can use it to steal information for where the power is being utilized or where the power is being put. Or in some cases, if you want to understand where certain things are in certain buildings, if I can get into the power plant and I can look at the power utilization, and I go, wait a second, this little shed in Sam's backyard that supposedly has a lawnmower, it's pulling a ton of power and doing a lot of processing. There's probably some computers in that shed that we're not aware of that maybe we want to pay closer attention to.
Man,
Wow.
So you know everything.
I'm surprised the Russians haven't, like, kidnapped you already, and
Maybe they haven't. I just escaped a few times.
Oh man. So then you were working cybersecurity for the Gates family. How did you even get involved in that? Like, how do you get connected to them?
That's one which I know both of you realize this. When you look at 1%ers and really successful people, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and just being in contact with the right people and the right folks. So it was one of those where I get a call one day and it's like, Eric, we have a really cool cybersecurity project for you, but we can't tell you anything about it. We can't give you any info. You just have to jump on a plane and fly to Seattle. So I'm like, okay, I've done weirder stuff in my life. So okay. So I go there and it was just, when Bill left Microsoft and he was starting to be independent before they really got tied to the foundation, they wanted somebody independent and separate to really help with their cybersecurity. So they asked about 5 or 6 different people. And because I worked with some of their investors and some of their advisors, my name kept popping up over and over and over again. So I was one of the finalists that they flew me down there. But what they told me, the reason why they ultimately picked me wasn't because of my expertise, but it was because at multiple times in the interview, I wasn't telling them about what I could do. I kept asking them, how can I help you? How can I help you? What do you want? And the answer that Melinda loved is, I said, if I do my job correctly, you shouldn't know I'm there, and it should make your life easier. Because most people think cybersecurity should get in the way and should be an inhibitor. And I'm like, if you do cybersecurity correctly, it should help make your life better and more productive. And that's what she loved, because she was so terrified that we were going to put all the security in place that she couldn't text anybody, call anybody, or do anything.
Yeah. Guys, so you just got interview advice from someone who's been hired by one of the richest men in the world. You're welcome.
The richest man, is it?
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is.
Oh, yeah, Jeff surpassed us, right?
But
Yeah, Bill's number 3. He's slacking a little bit. So
He's worth like 90 billion.
I'm curious. What's it like being there up close and interacting with those people?
it's one of those things where when you're in their residence in their house, because I mean, it's just so gigantic, you just sort of, it's like a surreal sort of feeling. And the thing that I always laugh is the data center component, which is behind their house. Because if you ever looked at a picture of the house, it's built into a mountain. So there's no back to it. It's only a front facing the lake. And the entire back of the house is all data center. And I forget the exact number, but I think the data center in the back of the house is something like 47,000 square feet. And I'm like, their data center's bigger than all my houses combined multiplied by 5. So,
wow. My goodness, dude, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And I mean, just being there, that had, like you said, that had to be surreal. Just, man. But so then, how does that fit into your career? Is that some time ago? Is that recently? What's that like?
So that was about 11 years ago. I mean, I still get called periodically, but a lot of times with security, once you're set up and configured and everything's in place, a lot of it is really just sort of maintenance and monitoring and ongoing. But that was one of those where I always am looking for new opportunities. I'm always looking for new businesses to start. So after that, when you have the Gates as one of your clients as credentials, that's one of my businesses that I've been running very, very successfully, called Bodyguard. Because most famous people, sports figures, and other folks, they have physical bodyguards to protect them, but they're constantly getting into trouble in cyberspace, and they live most of their life in cyberspace. So we now can go in and provide cyber bodyguard services so you can be safe and protected online. And one of the things I always joke when I get pulled in, like if you remember Jeff Bezos, he got in trouble because he was sending inappropriate naked pictures to his girlfriend when he was still married, and that got all over the news with the Inquirer. And one of the things I always tell folks is, listen, I'm not here to judge, but I'll show you how to do it securely. I'll show you how to do it so you don't get caught, you don't get in trouble, and you don't get yourself all over.
Jeff, you can send naked pictures, but I'll make sure it disappears as soon as she sees it.
Exactly.
Everywhere. That's what I'm talking about.
Man, so why don't you get into some of a lot of the practices that everyday people do or business people do that we're putting ourselves at risk, and how can we better protect ourselves?
So the number one thing I always tell everyone, and it doesn't matter who you are, for any of the listeners, is you need to understand one simple thing. You are a target. You are going to be a target. If you have a cell phone, if you have a computer, if you have social media, you are going to be targeted. Because so many people go, Eric, I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not the president of the United States. I'm not Jeff Bezos. No one would want my information, and no one would want my data. And that's a fallacy, because today's adversary, they're not going to steal $10 million from one company. Now, you hear about those once in a while in the news, but those are few and far between. Most of the attacks we work with on a regular basis, and we typically hear about 17 to 18 attacks a day that never make it into the news. What they're doing is they're stealing $100 from 1 million people. So if you steal $100 from 1 million people, it stays under the radar. Most people, if there was an additional $100 on your credit card bill, you probably wouldn't even notice it. I know, Sam, you mentioned about hacking your wife's Instagram. My wife's credit card bill, I can't even keep. It's like a book. I mean, when it comes. So, I mean, if there was an extra $100, I wouldn't even know about it. So that's what they're doing, is they're doing little tiny scams in there. So the big advice that I recommend is be super careful of the apps that you install on your phone, because these devices, your iPhone or Android, when you get them out of the box, they're actually really secure. The problem is the F word. And when I say the F word, I mean free. Do you realize free apps, in order for it to be free, you have to allow it to access your microphone, your camera, your pictures, and everything else on your device? That's why every app that I have, I pay for. I never do free. Because here's the option. You can do a free app and you give up all your data so they can access anything, or you pay $2.99 and now they don't access your data. You don't need to turn on the microphone and the camera. So the question I always ask people is your life, is your data worth $2.99? And to me, it absolutely is.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Now, what are they doing with, like, why is my data valuable? You know, I feel like that's a question a lot of people would have.
So your data is valuable because they're going to sell it and use it for target marketing. So if I go in and I know that you love, and I'll just pick something silly, that you love Dairy Queen. You love Dairy Queen, you love ice cream, and because you have that app and you have location services turned on, I know that you go to Dairy Queen 3 times a week because I'm geolocating where you're going. If I own an ice cream place like Cold Stone, I want that data because I want to win you over as a customer. So Cold Stone will pay Apple or those other app developers for that data, saying, I want to know everybody that goes to ice cream 3 times a week, and I want you to send my ads to those individuals. So that's sort of the innocent version of it. But I'll tell you the scarier version of it, that's sort of the dark underground that a lot of people don't realize, is there are a lot of child predators that use that information to target both boys, girls, adults, to go in and find out where they live, where they go after, and where they access. Real scary but interesting experiment. When they have kids that do TikToks, don't even get me started on TikToks with my kids, but when they have kids do TikToks that are dressed normally, they get about 200 or 300 likes. If those same kids do TikToks, either in bikinis if they're females or topless if they're men, the number of likes increases by 500%. Just because they have less clothing on, because you have all those creepers out there that are targeting and going after them. So there's really this dark, scary side that if you have kids, you really need to educate them, because 17-year-olds that are online aren't 17-year-olds. They could be 40 or 50-year-old people that are targeting or trying to go after them.
Wow. Now, speaking of TikTok, you know, there was controversy regarding TikTok. Actually, you know, they said, they were saying that it's like it's like a Chinese spy, app or whatever, this and that. You know, what is your theory on it? You know, I know there's actually some countries have banned TikTok, and there was talk that maybe even the United States considered about banning TikTok. You know, is that a way for a different government to kind of spy on us?
So I'm always one of those where I love conspiracy theories. I mean, I worked at the CIA. Clearly, I love my conspiracy theories, but I always look at factual-based components. So yes, is TikTok developed by a Chinese company? That is correct. Absolutely, yes. Does it have almost more downloads than one of the most popular apps that are out there? Absolutely. Is it on most kids' computers? And is it actually tracking location and usage and other factors? Absolutely. However, there's been zero proof that they've actually been using it today to actually spy on, steal, drop malware, or do anything else. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in the future. One of the things the Chinese are known for with espionage is patience. So it wouldn't surprise me in another year or two if they start adding features to turn on microphones, to listen in on houses and things like that. But at least right now, today, all of the data that's out there it's very, very suspicious, but there's not actually any proof that it's actually being done for actual espionage and malicious purposes.
Okay. Got it. Are you aware about the hack that just went on with Twitter with the Bitcoin?
Yes.
Yeah? Can you tell us a little bit about that, if you know anything?
Sure.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the interview so far. You know, one of the keys to my success has always been productivity and time management. And now I have a video for you so how you can increase your productivity and really start getting stuff done. So click somewhere below here and message me the word time. I'm going to send you my free video training so you can take your productivity to the next level. Now let's get back to the interview.
Yeah, so two factors there. So one is that most likely, and once again, they don't reveal a lot of data, but if you look at a company like Twitter that's been around for a long time with their servers and systems, the probability of there being a vulnerability externally and somebody breaking it externally is really, really slim. So from my analysis and expertise, I predict that in that case, it was an insider. Somebody inside the organization either got paid off, got clicked on a link, got phished, and they were able to go in and steal the database of passwords of some high profile people. So I think like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and President Obama all got hacked. And then they started sending out messages to people to say, hey, if you give me an amount of money, I'll double the amount of the investment. And to me, a couple of factors there. One is you need to realize that with social media, your accounts can get compromised, but you need to go in and turn on notification when that happens and two-factor authentication. The other thing is, and this is one problem I always have with cyberspace, when people go to cyberspace, common sense goes out the door. If you were walking down the street today and somebody walked up to you and said, hey, I'm Bill Gates, and if you give me $10, I'll give you $20, you would be like, get out of here, man. I'm not doing that. You got to be nuts. But online, somebody comes up and says, I'm Bill Gates, give me $1,000 and I'll give you $2,000. And people are like, okay, that must be legitimate. So a lot of this is sort of this common sense piece that we just got to get a little smarter online. And if a deal is too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. Now, there's been a lot of controversy with Facebook, you know, and I don't know if you know a lot about it, but what is your opinion on Facebook and all of that? Do you have a Facebook? Like, how do you interact with that?
So I use social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, all those only for business. You're not going to find any personal pictures. You're not going to find any pictures of Eric in a Speedo, which probably is a good thing because that would scar people for life on there. So I only use it for business. But once again, you got to step back and look at the data. So let's take Facebook. Facebook is a company whose product is free. They do not charge you for their product. The product is totally and completely free. Yet they are worth, I think the latest evaluation, I think it dropped a little bit, is $7.2 billion. Let me ask you a question. How is a free company worth $7.2 billion? And the answer is this. They are selling and using your data to do targeted marketing and targeting exposures. And we're starting to see these cases come out there. So what I always tell folks is, if you're going to use Facebook or Twitter or any of these accounts, recognize that your information is going to be public. Anybody can get access to it, even if you put the privacy settings. If we had more time, I could go in and show you with Facebook to take an account that has full privacy, full lockdown, or all the recommended settings, and we can view all of their content within about 5 minutes. So those settings really aren't that effective in protecting you. So you just need to recognize, if you're going to use any social media, the information is public, it is available, it is biased, and you need to make sure that any messages that you receive from people you cannot trust, and never, ever, ever transfer money for any message that you receive in a social media platform.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so something just popped in my head. I wasn't planning on asking you, but are you aware of Cambridge Analytica and what they did in the 2016 election?
Yes.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? I was watching some conspiracy theory stuff and I just got into it, and you were like, seemed like the person.
Once again, Justin, you gotta let's step back and analyze the data.
Exactly. Basically what happened there is Facebook has a lot of plugins or add-ons where you can go in and you can develop apps that add on to Facebook, and then you could pay Facebook to go in and push that out to their user base. So essentially what happened in the Cambridge Analytica case is they created an app that was very, very biased in terms of information and data. They harvested people's accounts that were more likely to vote for a candidate, And then they went in and pushed out a lot of propaganda to them, trying to influence or modify their views or behavior. And once again, it really comes down to that old joke that you hear people say all the time. Well, if you find it on the internet, it must be true, right? If you Google and find it on the internet, it's got to be true and accurate. And there is just so much influence propaganda campaigns being done on Facebook and all these social media platforms today. It is just downright scary.
So where do you go to get your news? Where do you go to get actual factual information that you can
Fox,
trust?
of course.
Yeah, I do. Like Sam, I love working out. That's my daily dosage. I'm in the gym at 4:30 every morning. And now that the gyms are open again, I have to get influenced by the news, because I think there must be a rule that if you own a gym, you're only allowed to have ESPN, CNN, or Fox on the TVs. It's like, that's the only thing that's on there. So I actually tell my owners, I'm like, can we just have ESPN? Do we have to get rid of the CNN, Fox, and stuff? But I'll sort of glance at that news to see what's going on. But honestly, the way that I get most of my news is just by talking with colleagues, clients, and other factors. And it's really cybersecurity and business and entrepreneur related. I'll read magazines, I read books, I read about 2 books a week. So that's really where I get my news from, is I'll listen to other folks' podcasts, I'll listen to things like that. And my opinion is, if something is bad enough that the world is going to end,
I'm going to know about it.
I'll find out about it, because I'll see all the cars on the highway driving the opposite direction. But I'm one of those folks is I don't need to watch the news, because it's never positive, right? You're going to be a depressed person if you watch the news every day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, do you, on your laptop, do you cover the camera? Do you cover the microphone? I'm curious.
No, I don't.
Okay.
And the reason I don't is because, once again, I mean this joking, but seriously, I'm never doing anything that I wouldn't care if people know about. Now, if I was dancing naked or going to inappropriate sites, then yes, I definitely recommend to cover the camera and to mute your microphone. But if I'm just doing daily work activity, no. But here's one of my tricks. You got to go in and separate out work and personal. So the biggest problem with most people is they have one computer, and it's a Windows computer, and it has all their business records, all their finances, all their tax records, and everything else. And then they do the 2 most dangerous things on the planet, which is surf the web and check email. They're going to make a mistake. They're going to click on a link. They're going to open an attachment. They're going to get hit with malware, and their data is going to be stolen and hold ransom. So here's what I do. All of my work I do on a Windows computer. But because Windows has a 90% install base, 98% of all malware is targeted for a Windows operating system. So I carry around an iPad mini, and I use that to check email and surf the web. Now, by checking all my email initially and surfing the web on an iPad, most of the malware won't impact it, and most of the malware won't infect it. Even if for some reason somebody wrote malware for an iPad, which is hard because it's a simpler device, and it infected my iPad, I have no data on it. Yeah. There's no data or no information, so minimal impact to me. And then once I screen and verify and validate that my email is legitimate, then I go over to my Windows computer and I go in and perform my work. So the best thing you can do if you want to be safe online, and you don't have to buy an iPad, use your iPhone, use your Android, but use a non-Windows device for checking email, surfing the web, and then use a Windows computer to do the actual work.
So why use the Windows computer for actual work? Why can't it be a iOS?
The reason I use Windows to do work, because that's what all my clients have. And I used to use a Mac for a while, a MacBook. I love the MacBook Air. I mean, it's great, it's light, it's awesome. The problem is, even with Office documents like PowerPoint and Word and others, for Mac, when I send them to my clients, they still have formatting. It's just not a perfect translation, and of course there's quality issues, and I'm super big on quality. So because all of my clients and customers that I'm interacting with are using Windows, I need to use a similar platform.
No, I thought it was like some kind of cyber issue. Okay, so that makes a little sense.
Yeah. So can you tell us, I'm curious about some of the work that you did under the Obama administration?
A lot of that was really just high level strategy of helping the president and his committee and cabinet understand what the vulnerabilities and exposures are. And I tell you, that was probably one of the most valuable experiences because I learned two very important things. One is you can be the smartest person in the world. You could know cybersecurity inside and out. You could be able to hack nuclear reactors. But if you can't explain it to other people that aren't technical, you will never be effective. Because I need to be able to talk to CEOs, COOs, and presidents in a non-technical way so they can understand and make decisions. The other thing that I loved is, if you've read any of his books or his biographies, President Obama is really, really big on the 90-second rule. And his 90-second rule is when he asks you a question, you better be able to answer it in 90 seconds or less. Otherwise, he's interrupting you. He actually prefers 45 seconds, but for detailed questions, he'll give you 90. So the other thing I learned working with the president was I had to rehearse and practice because you can give any answer in 3 or 4 minutes, but if you have to give a complete, comprehensive, accurate answer that somebody understands in less than 90 seconds, that takes a lot of work, but it's an amazing skill because you could be very effective and efficient in communication.
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
extremely concise.
Yeah.
So many people ramble, and
Yeah.
I struggle with that sometimes too. And you say a lot of things, but you're actually not saying anything.
Yeah, but those ramble things, you know, we do podcasts with some guests sometimes and ramble on. I'm falling asleep sometimes, you know. But when somebody is just direct and efficient with their words and they get the point across, those are the best podcasts, and we appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah, it's just a life skill in general. You know, whether you're working with the president or whether you're working at Walmart, it doesn't matter. You need to be concise and everything like that. So you also have incredible business experience. You know, you've sold a company to Lockheed Martin for $400 million, another one to Intel for $2.5 billion, something like that. Wow. Tell us about how did you do that? Like, how did you build this? What are some of the struggles you overcame to get there?
To me, my whole philosophy on business is really 2 books, Blue Ocean Strategy and Play Bigger. Because my whole approach to business is find a blue ocean, get into that blue ocean. And those not familiar, blue ocean is an area where there's not a lot of competition, that it's pretty wide open and you're not competing on price compared to red oceans, which are very competitive, very aggressive. And then once you find a blue ocean, you put so much content, so information, and so much data out there that you become the category king. So by the time the blue ocean becomes red, you own that category. You're in charge of that category. Best example of that I love is Elon Musk. When he got into electric cars, that's a blue ocean. Nobody was doing electric cars. It's a red ocean now, but he owns that category that even though his cars are 5 times as much as anyone else, he owns that category. So that's what I always try to do is where's a blue ocean that I can jump into, own that category, and then dominate that space.
Okay. And now what was the other book you recommended?
Play Bigger.
Play Bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. With every company that I build, I always focus on 2 things. You hear all these guys focusing on revenue. Well, I have 10 million, this and that. To me, revenue doesn't matter if you're not getting the profit and your company's not worth more. So what I always try to do with every business I run is we have to make a minimum of 40% margins. So I have to make a minimum of every dollar I earn, 40% goes in my pocket. Some of my businesses are high of 60 or 70% margins. And then my other goal is all my companies get at least a 6x multiplier on their net worth. And that's how you're able to get those big sales prices, because you build the company to 30, 40 million, you're making 40% profit on that, and then you sell it for a 6x multiplier. That's when things start really getting interesting. So when I'm going in and building businesses, looking at the blue ocean, trying to do the category king, how can I be in a high margin business? And then how can I always create intellectual property through products, patents, or other mechanisms? Subscription right now is another way. If you have multi-year subscription for your product, you go from a 1x to a 3x very, very quickly. So I'm always focusing on increasing overall value of the company.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, this is great. You know, now I'm curious is how many companies, I'm sure you're in a ton. How many are you in right now?
I'm probably in terms of investment, probably 11.
Okay.
11 or 12. There's 6 I'm active in. There's 4 that I'm sort of just like an angel investor, and then 2 that I'm running. But here's how I always play. I always shoot for about a 20% batting average. So out of those 11, I fully expect 8 or 9 of them to fail. And I'll lose maybe 20, 30 million. But I expect 2 of them to be wildly successful and make me 500 million. Yeah. So the net increases, and here's one of my rules, and it make people think it's the nuttiest thing. It drives my wife crazy. But 2 years ago, I invested in 7 companies, and 6 of them all were successful. And I'm like, crap, I'm playing it safe. I'm way too conservative, right? Those numbers are too conservative. I should be making a lot more money. So to me, if I'm not having some failures in there and I'm not losing some money, that means I'm missing out on even bigger opportunities because I'm playing it too safe. So I always tell folks, if you put out content on social media and you don't have haters, if you're not failing, if you're not losing some money, you are playing it way too safe, because the only way you get big payoffs is to have some failures in there.
You have to expect to fail, honestly, yeah. in some aspect or another. I love that, because a lot of people are scared of that, and they're scared of failing, and they think that means they're doing something wrong. But you're saying wildly successful, and you're saying the opposite.
Yeah. And I look at it, if you pull up the Eric dictionary and you look up the word failure, the definition for failure in my dictionary is it's a growth opportunity for learning and getting stronger and better and more powerful. To me, failure is not a negative. The only time failure is a negative is if you quit and you give up and you stop trying. But to me, if you learn something, if you think about it, the lessons you've learned in life, where I've learned about investing and everything else, it's because I've lost money. If I've never lost money, I would have never learned those lessons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure tons of companies want you to come speak, and they have you come speak. Can you share us a couple of principles that you share with them and leadership in their teams and everything like that?
Yeah, so one of my favorite ones is, and it's going to sound weird when I say it, but it's sort of one of my principles of life, is it's the Find Waldo philosophy. And have you guys ever seen the Find Waldo puzzles?
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with them, it's basically a book, and it has a picture that's super busy. It's got all drawings, it's a super busy picture. And hidden in that picture is this little tiny Waldo dude that has a red and white cap. And what you basically do is you search the puzzle for 20, 30, 40 minutes trying to find that little hidden person within those puzzles. And you have people that'll spend 30, 40, 50 minutes looking, not giving up, because they know the Waldo is in there. They know it's there. They know that the designer of the puzzle wasn't spoofing them, and it's in there. So they are going to keep finding until they get that Waldo. That's my business philosophy, because I know when I'm looking to sell a company, or I'm looking for investment, I'm looking to make a sale, there's a yes out there. Yeah. And the yes is the Waldo. So I know that if I'm going in and this doesn't work, no, I'm going to keep trying, because I know for a fact, just like the law of gravity, that there is a yes somewhere out there, and I just have to go in and find it. So to me, when I get no's, or people say we're not interested or turn me down, as crazy as it sounds, I get excited, because that means I'm one step closer to a yes. Most people after 10 or 15 no's, they give up, they get frustrated, they get rejected, and that's how they give up. And that's actually one of the lessons when I went to a basketball game that I learned 15 years ago from Bill Gates, is when I was asking him, I said, Bill, what's sort of your secret? And he goes, you have to believe in your product so much that you don't listen to what anyone else says, and you keep asking until you get the yes. And what he told me was, he goes, to get Microsoft started, they had some trouble in the beginning where they needed funding. He had to ask 1,237 people for funding. 40 were interested, and 5 made him a billionaire. And then what I love is he looked at me and said, Eric, I had asked 1,237 people. What if at 1,233 I quit? What if at 1,121 I got tired and quit? We won't have Microsoft today. he wouldn't be one of the richest people in the world, but he kept going and going, whether it's 800, 900, or 1,237 no's. If you believe in your product and believe in yourself, you don't stop until you get the yes.
I don't think I've asked 1,237 people anything. Like,
Be relentless.
See, you've been great, man. So you get what you want a lot sooner, but
that's persistence, and that's relentless pursuit, man. Well, I love this, Eric. You know, I love you have all your information down below.
That is done very nicely, man. We got to do that, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna copy you, Eric. This is pretty cool.
Okay. Hey, that's the best compliment. So
we've never had anybody do that, and I think that like goes to show your attention to detail. And we could easily ask you at the end of the show, but you have it there the entire thing. Like that goes to show your character and your everything that's gone into your success.
Super detailed.
Oh yeah.
Now, to me, it's two things. It's detail, and then the other thing is how, because I love being on the show, and I want to make it as easy for both of you. So if I put the information right up there, you don't have to ask, you don't have to remember, and it makes it a lot simpler for you. So that's what I always try to do, is look at how can I make things better and easier for other people. And this one I actually stole from Brian Tracy, but it's sort of one of the things in my DNA. The way you get what you want in life is by helping other people get what they want in life. Yeah. And that's, so many people are so selfish that they always focus on me, me, me. I'm always about you, because I know if I help you, you'll help me.
How you got your job with Bill Gates? He said, how can I help you? How can I make your life easier? And there you go, you're making our life easier. You know, we really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate the insight, and man, you know, just great. I mean, you blow our mind. You blow our mind with the cybersecurity, with everything that we talked about, all your accolades, you know, all the, you know, President Obama, Bill Gates, and, you know, the cyber bodyguard. You know, nobody ever thinks about that. And, you know, but we're so vulnerable out there. I mean, I know, you know, I got my information stolen a couple of times, you know, and so, you know, that's never fun when somebody steals your information, credit card, identity, hacks your email, you know, So
guys, again, if you want to get any of Dr. Eric Cole's information, it's down below. You can go check them out if you want to hire them. Can people hire you for their personal private security?
Absolutely. If you want information on cybersecurity, Secure Anchor. If they want to hire us, if you just want information on entrepreneur, my thoughts on life, that's where social media is really good. I post 2 or 3 videos a day.
Awesome, guys. Well, check him out. You know, this was an incredible episode. You know, if you want more of his content, go to his Instagram, his YouTube, everything like that. If you want cybersecurity, Secure Anchor. But this was an incredible episode, guys. I know you got tons of value. Make sure you took notes, and we'll see you guys soon.
Secure-Anchor.
Yes, Secure-Anchor.
I don't want people going in there. It's right there, secure-anchor.com.
Exactly,
I actually own both domains as a backup, but
see, you straight. Okay, cool. Okay. Details, brother. Thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, if you liked today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.